Hi guys, hope you're all having a fantastic week so far. So it's a new week, a new training program for myself, switching from full body every day to a push-pull legs routine. Very simple. This marks the 13th week of my competition prep, and I'm joined by Karl, my online client who's prepping for a show later in the year. Currently lost about 17 kilos, doing really well, still as strong as an ox and trains with a lot of intensity, which is nice to see. It's also quite fun to actually run for a program that upsets someone else. So today we're making the most of training with each other, which obviously wouldn't usually be the case, and kind of whacking up the intensity a bit, especially since I've come back from a full body routine. Generally slightly less intensity, the volume's quite high, to then just focusing on the 3 days, but absolutely maximising that intensity, which is really only possible to do with a training partner. You can train very, very hard on your own, don't get me wrong, but it's only ever going to be to positive failure unless you're using maybe looser form or rest pause or drop sets and the likes. You obviously can't do false reps, you can't do negatives, stuff like that. So we make the most of the situation here, and Culls allow me to go above and beyond what I would usually be able to do. The main benefit of this, especially with back training, is those last couple of inches really get difficult really, really quickly. And that spot will just help you go through the full range of motion for more reps than you would usually be able to do on your own. Also, you'll never be able to tax the negative or the eccentric range of motion, the stronger phase of movement, with conventional sets and training. It's just impossible because you'll always break down on the harder plane of movement, the positive or the concentric. You'll always get stuck there. You won't be able to pull the bar up for those last 3 inches, but you'll be able to control it down with no problem at all. So this kind of training allows for you to be able to maybe tax that usually untaxed kind of pathway, the eccentric or negative phase of motion, which is extremely beneficial in my opinion. At the end of the day, you're doing a set with 80 kilos here, for example, for 10 to 12 reps, as opposed to 6 reps on your own. So there's got to be some benefit there, and I really don't care what's considered fashionable or trendy, what's kind of in the literature at the moment. I just want to sometimes just give it my absolute best, and really leave nothing in the tank. And there's a lot to be said of training like that. You're going to grow. Of course, it comes at a cost. It's not something I'd recommend all the time, and it's not something that I would say would overall be better than conventional training, but it's definitely a tool at your disposal that you can use sparingly. Now, this type of training is definitely not easy. It does wipe you out. If you were bulking especially, then you got more food. You're more easily able to recover between sessions. You're doing less cardio generally. You can really make some fantastic benefits from implementing some of these techniques into your workout. I think people get bogged down with kind of what's considered like trendy. It's just kind of standard sets, reps left in reserve and whatnot. At the end of the day, sometimes just whacking up the intensity, going balls to wall consistently will reap the rewards. If you can hack it and you can handle it and you can deal with that kind of intensity, then you're going to see results. You're either going to break or you're going to see results. It's as simple as that. But I'd rather give it my all than kind of play it sensibly and safely and then start doubting myself at the end. Or maybe I could have done more. That's something I definitely don't want to experience. So that's my mindset anyway, right or wrong. That's just the way I am. So the first couple of movements are super heavy. As I said, Karl is very, very strong. He's done a lot of rowing before, and it shows, very thick back. Kind of a lot closer on the vertical movements here. So we're going for a real old school movement here. This is one of my favourites, and I put in a lot of my clients' routines. Behind the neck pull down, and then front, 8 and 8. Nice. The lat pump is phenomenal, I have to say, after this. Really, really good. That's the third and final set before then moving on to some old school row, which is a very bent over row. Again, very, very difficult. Of course, this one is kind of difficult to utilise any force reps or spots. So for the last set, we did like a drop set just to, again, whack up that intensity. So just while we're finishing off the old school rows here, I thought I'd give you a chance to kind of look at how I'm tracking my training. The differences between the kind of full body training that I was doing and the push-pull leg workout, how that's affecting my volume and intensity. So I've developed a comprehensive Excel tracker that really helps me get an in-depth look at my training. I'm using this for myself at the moment along with all my clients. Now I'm currently offering a 25% discount on this. Check out the description box if you're interested. Follow the link, pop in your email address, and you'll receive the discount code via email, ready to use when I launch the tool, along with access to all of the content that comes with that. Now getting back to the session, finishing up the last set of the old school row here, just a little drop set as I said. I really like this movement. It's fantastic really. You have to raise your feet though, otherwise you're going to hit the plates to the floor before you achieve a full range of motion. So you either use a platform as we're doing, or you have to go with smaller plates like 5s and 10s. You definitely can't do this with 20s in the conventional manner because the plate will hit the ground before you achieve the full ROM. So that's back done and dusted, completely fried. We're moving now on to biceps. Good old fashioned strict curl, one set to failure, giving it everything we've got. And again, this is a really good exercise to make the most of either, if you're on your own, looser form. So cheat curl, that's one of my favourite exercises and will allow you to increase the intensity of your bicep movements and allow you in some cases to actually be able to attack the eccentric phase of motion more efficiently, which, as I said before, if you're doing conventional training, you're never going to do. It's just, it's just so much stronger and you're always going to break down on the positive. So you're going to have to use loose form, cheat reps, or a spot to be able to do that. So yeah, we're using false reps just to continue that set past the point of failure. So I'm being a little bit more cautious with the curls compared to Karl. Still coming off the elbow injury, it's feeling a lot better. Hence why the weight's a little bit lower though, 42.5, but keeping it very, very strict. Felt great. This set was pretty much everything I had. You really need a special kind of mindset going into these types of sets, especially after already doing so much work. I mean, that's one downside of push-pull legs. The sessions are long, they're very tiresome. You're hitting the same muscle with a lot of work in one session. And of course, the fatigue builds up and it accumulates. My biceps are already kind of fried from the back work, so you really got to dig deep and give it your absolute best. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Nothing left in the tank, nothing more to give. Giving it my absolute all. Keeping it controlled on the way down. Leaning back. Don't be scared of leaning back on curls. Really don't be. You're not going to pop a back out. If you are, then your back is so weak. You've got issues there. Your torso should be strong enough to be able to deal with that. So I really haven't got a problem with kind of a little bit of momentum, a little bit of body movement on things like curls. I think people go too crazy with the form and just leave a lot of gains on the table that they could be benefiting from by kind of loosening up a little bit. That's my philosophy anyway, and that's kind of the way I enjoy training myself. So after the curls, we're just moving to standard sets on the hammer curl. I'm pretty knackered by this point. We do 3 sets, and this is the last set. So yeah, it's a little bit heavier, a little bit sloppier. But there's still, the pump is on the arms. I wouldn't do loose form if it wasn't. There's no sense doing it if you can't feel it in the arms, feel it in the target muscle. The looseness just allows you to continue that set on without dropping the weight. You could go stricter with less weight. Okay, probably even itself out. But with heavier weight and looser form, you're still able, if you can, to be able to control that weight and tax the eccentric phase of motion, the negative part of the movement, more efficiently, which training with lighter, stricter form won't always allow you to do. So there are pros and cons to both, for sure. So yeah, just absolutely shagged after that 3 sets there. Then moving on to the strict work, 2 sets of preacher curls, single arm using the bench preacher. Quite a comfortable little setup, this one. Probably going to change this exercise though, to be honest. The pump doesn't feel that good. It just feels more fatiguing, if anything. Like the reps get really, really difficult, but there's not a large amount of feedback in terms of like pump and fullness that you would get on some of the other movements like the strict curl or even the hammer curl. And it's not because the exercise is later on, there's still more there. I know there's more there. It's just that this exercise, historically for both of us, doesn't really feel that good. It's just mechanically difficult. The pump is there, but it's not as efficient as it could be. I think maybe we'll switch to like a cable curl, like a dual setup, standing maybe a couple of foot in front of the cable stack. That would work very well. Perhaps a little bit more tension. Probably feel that a bit more towards the end of these sessions. So still gave it a all. Maximum intensity. Really benefiting from the false reps on this, because the point of fatigue is so sudden. The energy drop off is so quick. You're really able to go above and beyond quite easily with just a small nudge on the working hand. You can really take that set much further than you'd be able to do on your own. Then finish up with some forearms, obviously a crucial part of your arm training, and we're using the old school twister. So it's a simple kind of premise. The weight's at the bottom, and you're just going to kind of pull or push the handle, and different ways kind of accentuate different areas of the forearm. Really good to finish. One of my favourites. So we did, I think, 3 rounds on that, 3 roll-ups on each set. So that's the session done and dusted, guys. If you enjoyed it, then let me know. See you on the next one.